what we really have to insist on, we should ask questions about the context that things appear in. There's no point asking questions just in the direction of the data. I think I have used up my time pretty much, but nevertheless I don't want to leave you without giving you a final word about data. If you own an atlas or if you have a map at home, then chances are very good that it looks pretty much like this one. Indeed, what we're looking at here is one of these Mercator projections, and this time indeed all the rounded shapes have now been laid out. So indeed this is a thing where the angles between each of two points there are perfectly valid. Now, as you may notice, Africa has a certain size, and Greenland has a certain size as well. Now, if we measure it, if we take yet another measurement, then we figure that Africa around 30 million square kilometers, Greenland about 2.2 million square kilometers. And so indeed this is a troublesome point with it. All this beauty with the fixed angles that is so perfectly well suited for navigation has a serious flaw to it. The left side indeed shows you a Mercator projection from the 16th century. And the right side shows you a Peters projection from the 20th century, I think from 1974. Now, if I was to ask you which one is the more accurate map, based on what you heard so far, you wouldn't probably dare to say anything. But if we apply our regular ideas of objectivity, of data, of criteria, of things that are measurable, we of course would all go for the right thing, wouldn't we? I mean, the right side thing. Yes, of course, the area size, this, that. Yes, it is comparable, it's lovely, it's brilliantly taken. If you, however, were a 16th century mariner, I would bet pretty much all I have that you would rather try your luck with the left one that would take you to the right harbor. Thank you very much for your time. And please. Short questions.
Yeah, we have 2 minutes for questions, so feel free to shoot. I think we heard at least one web analytics word.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't help it. I tried to avoid it, but I thought I was about to lose them, really. All right.
Yep, we have a question there.
How can I sell more with this info?
How can you sell more with this info? Basically, yes. Generate a constant revenue stream, so do something that is replicable and that is increasing or that is improving with every new version you put out there. And the second thing, it doesn't have to be a revolution in terms of the product. It just needs to, it can be a very, very small thing like setting a fixed angle. It just has to change the world. That's the best answer I can give you at this point. But we may deepen the discussion and go to some other fields with it. Thanks.
Yeah. Isn't objectivity a convention? Like, until not so long ago, subjectivity was completely accepted. So you put it in your bullet points. Like, conventions is more important than objectivity.
Yes.
But basically, objectivity.
Objectivity is, of course, it's as I tried to say, objectivity is just one narrative amongst other narratives. And just because we're used to have, oh yeah, we need to focus on objective data, this is basically a thing, it may be considered a collective hallucination. It's of course a thing that has a certain tradition in the way we tend to look at things. And I think the era of enlightenment has started this idea. Everything that can be measured, everything that can be reproduced by others can be considered objective. And I would say, yes, it is a convention, it's a pure convention. And it nevertheless proved to have a certain value for a certain circle and a certain audience of people. But if you would now go and meet somebody somewhere else, then they may have a completely different understanding of it. But you are totally right, yes. Objectivity is just another narrative or convention. Yes. Please.
Would you agree with the statement that if you have enough data, that's your context? You just have a sea of data and you can use your new data?
Well, I wouldn't say so, no. It depends on, if it all comes from one data source, then I would say no, no matter what. If it would all be the same data of 2,000 years of spending history on something, that would give you certain insights, but you can't really do that much with it. You can't generate a context from it other than a comparative context. We compare this time frame versus this time frame. If you were able to get data, huge amounts of data from 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 sources, then your chances are, I would say, a lot better, because you can create contexts which don't only support the connection between 2 particular pieces in time or any comparative data, but indeed you can create a full set. I mean, we've talked about it, we've heard about it. What does my age have to do with my interest? What does my interest have to do with my income? What does my height have to do with my spending behavior? Nevertheless, behavioral targeting, well, targeting by any means, behavioral targeting is a bit more complex than that, is doing nothing else but that, creating contexts from more or less unrelated data sources. So therefore the idea, the Maxwell demon, if we would know the exact position of every atom in the universe at a given time, we would be able to determine the future, any future state of the universe in time as well. That was the idea behind it. I'd say the computer that could calculate it is not yet here, and I would say for the time being, we'd rather go with 2 or 3 index things, and we continue with calculating the correlation. That is, I think, close enough to what we can hope for. We can never really say that, yes, this is definitely coming from here. But indeed, well, these 2 things show a common trend. Okay, that is a thing we start with, because it only takes us a fraction of our capacity, our computing power that we have at hand. If you really would need to figure it out until the very, very end, that would just, it may not be the effort, may not be worth the effort. Wow, this is philosophy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry,
Well,
didn't mean that.
yeah. Thank you very much for this. Definitely interesting and well.